story. Tonight's video is going to be soft spoken. I am going to tell you the story of Emily Longley. She was born in Britain. They moved over to New Zealand with her family when she was 9 years old. She had a little sister called Hannah. A few years later, her parents split up and Emily started having trouble concentrating on her studies. She went to visit her grandparents in England and she decided to go and live with them and start a new school. She wanted to do a business national diploma, and her grandparents lived in a little cottage near Bournemouth. She was just 17 when she met her boyfriend, Elliot Turner, who was 19 at the time. Elliot was born in Birmingham in 1991 and he moved south with his family in 2000. His grandparents had a jewelry shop and his parents decided to take it over. So they were a very wealthy family. Elliot started university, but he dropped out before the end of the first term. His life was more about parties and women. He lived at his parents' home and they provided him credit cards, fancy cars, expensive watches, and as much money as he wanted. He was known to party a lot and liked to show off his cash, buy lots of bottles of champagne and bottles of vodka, and he used to hang out with a bunch of other rich kids, and they called themselves the Firm. Elliot tried to portray himself as a charming, well-educated young man when he met Emily, but little did she know of his true nature. When Elliot was only 16 years old, he had received a letter from the police warning him that he was to stop harassing his ex-girlfriend. He had bombarded her with texts and emails after she ended the relationship. And after the girl had left him, Elliot had told his friends that he wanted to suffocate her with a pillow. Emily and Elliot had only been seeing each other for 2 months when Elliot started to show his real face. He became extremely jealous, controlling, and obsessive. Emily was his trophy girlfriend. she was a very pretty girl. She had also started a career in modeling. Elliot was known to refer to women only by using the words birds or bitches. On the 12th of March 2011, the couple went on a romantic weekend and Elliot came across a picture of Emily posing in between two bare-chested men dressed up as butlers for one of her modelling jobs, and he became absolutely furious and he smashed up their hotel bedroom. Emily wrote him a letter to say that she loved him, but that he had to stop saying he wanted to kill her, that he had to stop talking constantly about his girlfriends, his ex-girlfriends, and to stop being so aggressive. Emily went back to New Zealand on holiday to visit her family and friends, and she posted on Facebook some pictures of her having fun with her friends, and Elliot got mad again and decided he was going to go out with other girls whilst she was away. When she got back from her holidays, they all went to a bar called the Villa Rosa. Emily and Elliot were seen arguing when suddenly Elliot grabbed her head and smashed it against a glass table. One night he turned up at a nightclub where he thought she was meeting someone, and he had a hammer in his pocket, and he went onto the dance floor towards the man and showed him the hammer he had. Emily was actually at home studying that night. He then went back to see his friends, and he was crying, and he admitted he had killed Emily with the hammer, and that he had thrown her body in the bushes. He then started to laugh and said it was a joke. One of their friends told Emily what he had said, and she texted him a message saying, "You want to hit me with a hammer? Do whatever you want to me. I will never get back with you. I actually hate you." 7 days later, on the 6th of May, she met up with some friends at a place called the Cafe Shore in Sandbanks, where CCTV footage caught the last images of Emily alive. She had had a row with Elliot, and she had gone out alone with her friends. He had told her that she was dressed like a whore, and she answered that she would dress just the way she wanted to. When she went to the bar, he followed her. He suspected her of going out with some men, and he turned up at at the bar. And when they argued, he tried to punch her in the face, and she decided to walk out with her friends, and Elliot followed outside. He went to talk to her and convinced her to go back to his place at his parents' to talk things out, and she accepted. The next morning, Elliot got up to go to work, and Emily was sleeping. His mother later came to wake her up and found her dead. She called an ambulance 1 hour after finding her. During that hour, phone calls had been made between Elliot's father, Elliot, and her. Elliot Turner made up a story that Emily had died in her sleep. His mother had called the ambulance at 9:45 a.m., although it was later confirmed that Emily had died around 1 a.m. The police had their suspicions, but the post-mortem tests were inconclusive and they could not charge him. So detectives decided to bug the Turner family's house, which is quite unusual and usually reserved in cases of terrorism. The family was heard discussing the night of the murder with Elliot, and he admitted that he had just lost it. His dad was recorded asking his wife if they were right to have destroyed a letter in which Elliot confessed to killing. The mother answered, "Yes, we have done the right thing." His parents, Anita and Lee, tried to cover his crime. But Elliot had left too many clues, too many threatening text messages, and told too many friends of his obsessions and violent thoughts. Liam Costello, one of his friends, said that Elliot had later gone out drunken, telling people that now his bitch was dead, he could date any bird he wanted. His mother threw a support Elliot party for her son while murder squad detectives were investigating Emily's death at their home. The day before he murdered her, he had asked his friend Tom Crow how he should kill Emily. They even discussed setting on fire her bedroom using petrol and strangling her. The pair even practiced strangleholds. Elliot had asked him to kill Emily with a hammer, that he told Elliot to get lost. The prosecution said that Elliot used a pillow to smother Emily, and then he strangled her using a sleeper hold. Forensics found the teenager's face mask of makeup printed onto the pillow, and some of Emily's makeup on Elliot's shirt. Elliot stuck with his own version to the police, saying that Emily had repeatedly attacked him and that he had only defended himself. In the witness box, Elliot said he grabbed Emily by the neck for 5 or 6 seconds and then pressed down on her as she lay on the bed to stop the attack. He then stormed out of the bedroom and came back, got into bed, and woke up to find her dead. When arrested at the scene, he had his passport in his pocket and his bags packed. Anita, the mother, admitted that she took a jacket from her son's bedroom, but that she didn't think it was wrong. The prosecution said police were distracted by her husband, and the confession letter was in the coat. Recordings were played to the jury. Elliot's father is heard planning with his wife, saying that he could accidentally knock over some pills to distract the policeman while she would take the letter out of the jacket. Elliot was also heard asking his parents if they were 100% sure to have destroyed the letter in which he confessed strangling Emily to death. They both confirmed it had been destroyed using bleach. They discussed about how they would be perverting the course of justice by having destroyed a confession, a vital evidence in the case. The father asks the mother, Anita, if they were right to have destroyed the letter, to which she answers yes. Elliot is heard saying that Emily had ruined his life, and his mother to answer, yes indeed, she has. Police examined Elliot's computer and found Google searches about death by strangulation, death by suffocation, manslaughter trial, and how to go off innocent, how to get away with serious crimes. Elliot had remained so convinced he was going to be cleared. He had been bragging in letters from his prison cell that he'd soon be out driving a new Range Rover and moving to Spain. His friend in court said that a few nights before Emily's death, Elliot had told him he was going to kill her. He He said I might get 15 years in prison, but I'll still come out a millionaire. Emily's father said that he was expecting him to be nervous or afraid, but that he just was incredibly arrogant, and that Elliot thought he was untouchable. Your arrogance during your relationship with Emily Longley, during your time on remand, and even throughout the trial, has been breathtaking. Your lack of remorse is chilling. She said the murder was premeditated, to which Elliot answered, bullshit. His father, jeweler Leigh Turner, 54, and healthcare assistant mother Anita, 51, were also found guilty of perverting the course of justice by trying to cover up the murder, and they were to be jailed for 27 months. They were released in 2013 after serving half their sentences and have been seen living in the home where Emily Longley was killed. Anita Turner is an Indonesian national, and she was said to be facing deportation a year after being released. Under British laws, the Home Secretary has a duty to deport any non-European foreign national sentenced to 12 months or more in prison. Elliot Turner was told by the judge to put away his thoughts of champagne, Bentleys and girls, and think about why he is serving a life sentence, as she jailed him for life with a minimum parole period of 16 years. That's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the story and the soft spoken version of it. Let me know in a comment what you would prefer for the next video, if you would like another soft spoken, or if you would rather have a whispered story. Have a good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.